If you think about what happened after 2008, the great financial crisis, I mean, anybody that, was looking around thought, hey, this is a changed world we live in now. When Bernanke started the QE program in 2010, you could see the handwriting on the wall. In fact, I wasn't alone. Look at China. At the time of the great financial crisis, China had 1.2 over that trillion dollars of U.S. treasuries. And then within just a short period of time after the GFC, and when they realized that they were going to start printing forever, they started selling them off. They're down to about 760, I think, right now. They're a little bit less than Japan. And the reason that's important, and I mentioned that to Bitcoiners, is because if you look around and you looked and you thought, gee, I got to get out of this system. I got to do something to protect myself. There really wasn't that much you could do. I mean, they were blowing an asset bubble. So if you were smart, you did, you put your wealth into asset bubbles and let it rip. And many boomers did that. But, this is a different world that we're in today. That's not going to happen going forward. You mentioned about conflicts and war, and this is probably my biggest hope. This is one of the reasons I got so excited about Bitcoin, is because I'm hoping that Bitcoin is going to be what stops this nonsense. We were in Afghanistan for 20 fucking years. And you know what? That's like 5 times as long as we were in World War II, a world conflict where we defeated, many powers, and it took 4 years. And now we were in Afghanistan for 20 years. If you look at the amount of money that we spent between Afghanistan and Iraq, it comes out to about $4 to $6 trillion.
Crazy.
Why could we do that? How can you fight a war for 20 some odd years? How can you spend $6 trillion? You can only do it one way. You can just print money. That's it. That's how you do it. If you look back on the past history of our country and other countries, you see that every time they get in a situation where they need to have a conflict, it's always printing money. So my goal, my hope was that Bitcoin would provide a way out. Once I began to study Bitcoin, and I didn't get it right away. You probably are smarter than I am. I got it, and I was trading shit coins, and I bought some Bitcoin. It went way up, and I sold it like an idiot. And but when you realize that you don't understand what you hold, the best thing to do is just get right back in the books. Just get in the books and start studying and reading and understanding, watching podcasts like this. And I did that. Once I understood it, once I really got it, I just started going back in and bigger and bigger. You know how that is. You start small. Next thing you know, you've got more and more of your wealth in there. And then today, sitting here today, I mean, I've got all my wealth in Bitcoin or a proxy. I've got some MicroStrategy stock too, but basically, everything I have is in Bitcoin. And I'm pretty damn happy too, I'll tell you.